Thank you for joining us yet again on the news desk on QTV. The headlines. Government has challenged UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema to provide evidence the Zambia Forestry and Forest Industries Corporation Zafico has been sold. Senior Chief Mwamba of the Bemba-speaking people of Kasama District and Chief Mwenetate of the Nkoya-speaking people of Luampa District have died. Here now is the news in detail. A government has challenged UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema to provide evidence on his allegation that the Zambia Forestry and Forest Industries Corporation Zafico has been sold. Chief Government Spokesperson Dora Silia has dared Mr. Hichilema, who on Monday is reported to have alleged that government has sold Zafico, to provide his claim within 7 days. Ms. Silia's challenge is that if Mr. Hichilema fails to provide his allegation within this period of time, he should also resign as president of the main opposition political party in the country. Speaking at a media briefing held in Lusaka, Ms. Silia also accused Mr. Hichilema of using lies to gain political popularity. Ms. Silia has alleged that it was Mr. Hichilema who also incited the riots that took place on the Copper Belt on Monday when he appeared on a live radio program at a local radio station. She has, however, told journalists that the law enforcement agencies will investigate all persons that incited people to riot over allegations that Zafico has been sold.
But you cannot have people go to the street on an issue that is not there. Now, we have stated many times, the laws of this country provide that for ZNBC to ever be sold or its shareholding changed, it needs the parliament to make that decision. Is that a very difficult thing to understand? Or I can maybe forgive Mr. Hakainde, he's never been in parliament himself. But I am sure that his party understands these issues. They do. So to me, that we must continue to do our politics just based on hate, based on lies, based on innuendos, based on half-truths, that is not the way to govern. That is not the way to manage a country. And government will not be held to ransom every minute. No, we've heard you've sold this, so government must keep explaining itself on things that are not even there. But
Senior Chief Mwamba of the Bemba-speaking people of Kasama District in Northern Province and the Chief Mwenetate of the Nkoya-speaking people of Luampa District in Western Province have died. Senior Chief Mwamba died of cancer in India on Sunday, where he was evacuated for specialized treatment, while Chief Mwenetate is reported to have died at his palace after a short illness. Bemba Royal Establishment spokesperson James Mulenga confirmed the death of Senior Chief Mwamba to Zanis in Kasama. Mr. Mulenga says Paramount Chief Chitimukulu and the entire Bemba Royal Establishment are currently in a state of shock and grief over the death of the traditional leader. He has described the late Senior Chief Mwamba as a selfless and committed leader who was very passionate about improving the lives of his subjects. And Luampa District Commissioner Winnie Kamayoyo, who has confirmed the death of Chief Mwenetate to Zanis, has disclosed that the traditional leader died on Tuesday around 06 hours. Ms. Kamayoyo says that the body of the late Chief Mwenetate is currently lying in Kauma Hospital mortuary. She says the traditional leader will be remembered for his fight against child abuse and early marriages in his chiefdom. Ms. Kamayoyo states that the late Chief Mwenetate also inspired the community in the fight against HIV and AIDS and for climate change. She notes that this is besides encouraging his village administration to participate in community-led total sanitation project to end open defecation. A total of 166,418 offenders were captured by speed cameras for exceeding the recommended speed limits on respective road sections as of 18th September this year. Minister of Communication and Transport Brian Mushimba, however, says there has been a drop in the number of offenders month on month since the project started. Mr. Mushimba has told Parliament in a ministerial statement that this is the trend that government wanted and expected. He says government expects a corresponding decrease in road accidents and their severity. And Mr. Mushimba has disclosed that government is considering the revision of speed limits in places where revision is necessary for roads that have been installed with traffic speed cameras. Mr. Mushimba says government has taken note of the speed limit inconsistencies that motorists are facing and that the review and streaming of the speed limits will be concluded by the end of the year. He says the other measures that have been put in place to mitigate concerns members of the public have raised on the speed cameras also include mounting of road signs on roads with speed cameras. Mr. Mushimba states that other mitigatory measures include reducing in the turnaround time for offence notification to about 4 days. He has told the House that these and other mitigatory measures are meant to ensure the successful implementation of the subsequent phases of the speed camera projects in the country.
Government has taken note of the speed limit inconsistencies that motorists have raised and is considering revision of the speed limits in places where revisions are deemed to be necessary. This review and the streamlining of the speed limits will conclude by end of the year. 6. Government has signed various memoranda of understanding with 16 commercial banks for depositing the speed fines. Further, there's an option for online payment using the website www.paymyfines.co.zm. The fee payable for overspeeding is 300 kwacha. Mr. Speaker, let me emphasize that this project is meant to address one of the key contributory factors in accidents and fatalities on our roads, which is overspeeding. The project is supposed to ensure the safe movement of all motor vehicles at a speed that one has maximum chances of survival and minimal damage to their vehicle if an accident do occur. Mr. Speaker, as at 18 September 2018, a total of 166,418 offenders were captured by the speed cameras for exceeding the recommended speed limits in the respective road sections. We have seen a drop in the number of offenders month on month since the project started, and this is a trend that we want and expected. A corresponding decrease in accidents and severity of accidents is also expected.
Opposition UPND members of Parliament today walked out of Parliament after their fellow Mitete. MP Mishek Mitelo was asked to leave the House by Speaker of the National Assembly Patrick Matibini. Mr. Mitelo was asked to leave the chamber by the Speaker of the National Assembly after raising on a point of order, questioning if the House was in order to deny the opposition member of Parliament to rise on a point of order, when Chama South member of Parliament was allowed to rise on a point of order where he was indicated later than him. In delivering his ruling on the point of order raised by Member of Parliament, Speaker of the National Assembly Patrick Matibini ruled that the opposition Member of Parliament leaves the House immediately. It was at this point when all other opposition members of Parliament walked out of the House, but they returned after about close to 10 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, to deny a Member of Parliament for Mitete to raise a point of order, and then thereafter allow the Member of Parliament for Chama South to raise a point of order. Is the House in order? I seek a serious ruling.
My ruling is that the honorable member of Mitete should leave the House. Honorable member Kuchien.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, are you aware that in Chile we have some teachers who expressed your mind without it? Since 2019, they have not been paid. I would like to find out from you what you want to do about this. Because we've got a lot of teachers who retire in 2009. Because I asked for that because I think they should release the hearing when this was going to be paid.
Sorry, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, just to clarify what I said, which relates to what the Honorable Member was saying, and I did say that one of the reasons why we are saying is the adequate funding, obviously given the competing priorities of government programs.
A latest report on violence against children in Zambia revealed that approximately half of females and males aged between 18 to 24 experienced one or more forms of sexual, physical and emotional violence in 2014. The report, which contains findings from a national survey, has also revealed that physical violence was the most common, followed by emotional and sexual abuse for both males and female. Speaking during the launch of the report in Lusaka, Minister of Youth and Sport Child Development Moses Mawere called for concerted efforts in eradicating violence of all forms against children in the country. Mr. Mawere says the duty of addressing violence against children is the responsibility of everyone, especially families. He states that families should ensure that children are protected and also educated on the need to respect other people's rights. Mr. Mawere notes that government, on its part, remains committed to protecting and promoting children's rights in the country. He says he is therefore optimistic that the findings of the just launched report will serve as an eye-opener to the many forms of violence that children are subjected to. Speaking earlier, U.S. Ambassador to Zambia Daniel Foote noted the need for government, non-governmental developing partners and civil societies to mobilize the necessary human, financial and technical resources to strengthen child protection. Ministry of National Planning Permanent Secretary Chabala Chola says Zambia will soon undertake a critical activity to rebase its gross domestic product, GDP. Mr. Chola says this undertaking has far-reaching implications on socio-economic policies. Speaking at the 9th meeting of the COMESA Committee on Statistical Matters, Mr. Chola noted that statistical activities underscore the importance of statistics in shaping not only policy direction but also development trajectory of African countries in the region. Mr. Chola states that the approach of the 2017 to 2020 statistics strategy is therefore based on providing a statistical response to COMESA's medium-term strategic plan, MTSP. He has encouraged participants to pay much attention because this strategy aims at providing an overarching framework of how statistical development will be undertaken in the COMESA region.
Colleagues, I note that your work this week focuses on reviewing progress made in the past year, and as such, I would like to add that each component of the statistical response to the medium-term strategic plan be interrogated deeply. Your committee needs to provide objective criticism and recommendation to the Secretariat concerning each of the sub-objectives on which progress will be reported on. I'm happy to note that the conclusion of some of the agreements within the European Union under their EDF 11 program is already underway. This has unlocked assistance towards statistics, specifically small-scale cross-border trade statistics. Further, and in the coming week, the trade facilitation agreement will be signed and will also unlock assistance towards statistics of international trade services. I would like to recognize the support of the African Development Bank, the USAID, towards enhancing COMESA's statistical development even more. This support demonstrates the confidence our partners have in the COMESA programs. Finally, distinguished delegates, I would like to recognize that your meeting's agenda is full and deserves your fullest attention. My role is to wish you well in your deliberations.
And speaking at the same event, COMESA Secretary General Chileshe Kapwepwe expressed hopeful that the formation of a regional network for statisticians has greatly helped the region through the timely exchange of vital information.
During the year under review, I am happy to report the conclusion and signing of agreements under the EDF 11 program, which will provide support to statistical development in our region. In this regard, the COMESA statistics team has already initiated the implementation of the work program. Further, we continue to engage member states in their endeavor to restructure the Secretariat, inclusive of statistical positions. This reflects our commitment to ensuring that the Secretariat is well capacitated to respond to COMESA midterm strategic plan. Distinguished guests, I'm also pleased to inform you that in July this year, COMESA admitted Somalia and Tunisia into its membership. The inclusion of these two new members is welcome, as this will change COMESA's statistical narrative and create new opportunities for collaboration. In closing, let me express our gratitude to the Zambian government for their continued hosting of all our committee meetings. During the year,
Zambia's economy can transform if industrialization is taken as a natural stage for structural transformation. Industrialization has the potential to be the engine of growth by creating a well-paying of employment, increasing incomes and alleviating poverty. Our staff, Favorite Kalando, has more in the following report.
For many years, local small and medium enterprises who have constantly been challenged to add value to the produce market forces are slowly adapting to the task, and gradually the implementation of industrialization agenda is gaining momentum. Lusaka's Chawama area has not been left on this noble course of value addition, as some small medium enterprises are embracing value addition to groundnuts, from which they make peanut production, among others. Shadrick Nondi, who owns a peanut butter business venture in the area, now explains in detail.
Business yesu abale bomba bwe bantu akwetama capital bantu ngo twakonka sana na mwingira ma Chinese mwalingira bamwenye namaga mwa ku Zimbabwe abanensu bali bashita empower sana ichakwa bati tulamona peanut butter isa mu Zambia akaletwa lemo nakwati nakali mu peanut isa mu Zambia ile fuma broad Zimbabwe mwana intuna ile tandana namuno shibayipanga kashi tafia shupa no kushupa patoka wafili chonse fibi kwako ni mbalala fena soti songa kwa fimbi fipusene kwa fibale bikako ni shaya baranda tema GMO.
In order for this reporter to understand how other small medium enterprises are coping up with the call on value addition, I visited Marvin Kakomwe, who is the manufacturer of sesame cooking oil.
In the first place, the challenges are on the production of the raw material, because farmers wouldn't grow something they've never tried or they've never seen it grown somewhere. So the challenge is you have to do demos nearly in all places so that they can see, and they would also want to see someone try it before themselves they try it. So that's the first challenge we are facing. And then on coming to production, in terms of equipment, the machinery, it's not locally available, although we can use these locally available materials, but in terms of hygiene, they are not good. So you have to source it maybe from South Africa or from China. So that's a challenge on the equipment in terms of quality production. So this goes with the type of equipment you are using.
In every big or emerging business, there are challenges which Mr. Chileshe and Kakomwe face in their efforts to add value to their raw materials. Ivan Singoma is ByZ founder, who emphasized the importance of producing quality products which can make both locally and internationally required standards.
The main issue, as highlighted by the Republican president, issues of quality in order for you people to remain competitive on the market. People are crying that we, as producers, there has been a bit of inconsistency in terms of quality and packaging. So let us invest much in quality control, packaging, as well as consistency in order to satisfy the local market and that beyond, so that as a country we can earn foreign exchange.
However, despite the difficulties they face in ensuring they produce quality goods, common market for Eastern and Southern African wants African countries
to continue repositioning themselves in a bid to embrace value addition and industrialization.
One of the core areas that is being emphasized is industrialization. Why? Because there's a recognition to say that without the industrialization component being strong, what we are going to export, both in terms of value and in terms of quality, is going to be low. So we have to improve our competitiveness. So that is the starting point. Of course, even whenever you start a process, you now have to start building on that process to address the different challenges that are being talked about. So you recognize it, and then now you put aside investment into our SMEs and ensure to say that they have the necessary support, whether it is in terms of capacity building support, whether it is in terms of linking them with financing, whether it is in terms of linking them with the markets and opening their eyes to say what opportunities lie ahead. So we've done quite a bit, but we still have to build on that to do even a lot more to actually have the necessary impact that is required.
But ShopRite Zambia General Manager Charles Bota is happy that the local small and medium enterprises are making strides towards embracing value addition.
Now, many people don't seem to believe the numbers that we give them, but 78% of our total content in our stores is actually local. It's not imported, it's local. It's made by the local people. And I'm talking about across the board. I'm talking about water, which everybody's familiar with, drinks, which everybody's familiar with, washing powders, toiletries, wheat products, sugar is local, salt, although that's not local, it's packaged locally, so it's value added. You know, pastas that have come into play with Java Foods and their noodles, peanut butter, honey. So there's lots of product that is done. Even bulbs are now done locally as well. Now, the trouble is that our Zambian manufacturers or Zambian producers and suppliers have become, in a sense, so good that the product on the shelf seems to be like it's imported.
There is a growing demand for processed and packaged food products in the sub-Sahara Africa. It is therefore a duty of small medium enterprises to ensure that they produce quality goods. Favorite Kalando reporting for QTV News in Lusaka.
Lafarge Zambia has donated 1,000 bags of cement towards the Habitat for Humanity Zambia Big Build project, which will see the construction of over 10 houses for the vulnerable in Chilanga district. Chief Executive Officer Vincent Bukat says his company has partnered with Habitat because it is committed to creating shared value within the community it operates. Speaking during the handover ceremony of the donation in Lusaka, Mr. Bukat said Lafarge believes that in order to help close on the housing deficit in Zambia, it needs partners like Habitat. Mr. Bukat says that it is through these partnerships that his company thinks it can supplement government's efforts in realizing the Vision 2030. He has since challenged other construction companies to come on board in helping the rolling out of the Big Build project.
It is through these partnerships that we are able to supplement government efforts in providing decent and affordable, it's important, affordable houses to people in the community, as highlighted in the Vision 2030. Human beings today need to have decent accommodation, as it's a basic human right for each and everyone to have the right to shelter. A home is therefore important for country growth, whether it's economically or socially. Infrastructure such as houses plays a vital role in the growth of these two important factors. To actualize this vision, therefore, Lafarge Zambia is pleased to announce, as you mentioned, donation of 1,000 bags of cement for the Big Build project, which we will see more than 10 houses being built. It is
And Habitat for Humanity National Director Kanyanta Mkelewai has thanked Lafarge for the donation. Mr. Mkelewai says the donation could not have come at a better time than now. He knows that it is not a secret that Zambia is in dire need of decent housing, especially for the vulnerable women, children, elderly and the disabled. Mr. Mkelewai states that the 1,000 bags of cement Lafarge has given his organization will thus go a long way in improving the lives of many less fortunate persons living with unsafe shelter.
I can tell you that the donation of 1,000 pockets of cement can actually enable us to build 15 decent homes for the groups that I've described. Especially if we can be able to mobilize other needed materials, if we can get donations like window frames, doors, from other organizations as well, we can definitely look at putting up that number of houses in a community in Lusaka. And that is huge. We cannot do so much, but for each person that we are able to do something to improve their living conditions, their lives never remain the same. It becomes different. And that is what we want to see in this country. And in so doing, we are contributing significantly to alleviating poverty housing.
The Zambia National Commercial Bank, Zanaco, and Prudential Life Insurance have signed a long-term bank assurance partnership. The bank assurance partnership will enable the two entities collaborating in developing and contributing insurance solutions to their customers. Zanaco Managing Director Henk Mauda says the partnership is strategic and aims at maximizing benefits for Zanaco's more than 1.2 million customers across the country. Speaking during the signing of a memorandum of understanding for the partnership in Lusaka, Mr. Mauda said this is by leveraging Prudential Life Insurance's market insurance products and services. He notes that the partnership will also provide Zanaco customers with Prudential's diversified life protection and health insurance products.
Our partnership with Prudential is in line with our strategy to develop tailor-made value propositions that ensure customers are served with the right products and services that best suit their needs and help create more value for customers. In the initial stages, we will distribute Prudential's overseas travel insurance and hospital cash plan as an embedded value-added service to our private and preferred customers, respectively. We will increase scope by adding more insurance solutions, which will be standalone solutions in later stages. The partnership will also be vital in contributing to the development of a sustainable financial market and help improve the uptake of insurance products in Zambia. The uptake of insurance is growing in Zambia, but there is still need for more people to access these services. Available statistics show that insurance penetration in Zambia is at around 1.11%. And we as Zanaco are happy to play a role in trying to increase this strongly. In conclusion, as a bank that caters for the interest of all customer segments, we are committed to ensuring that our customers get the full value of our financial services in a convenient manner by simultaneously providing them with banking, insurance, and life insurance services. Our partnership with one of the world's most trusted insurers will enable Zanaco to offer a wide range of options for our customers.
And speaking at the same event, Prudential Life Insurance Zambia Board Chairperson Matt Lilly expressed confidence the partnership will yield its intended purposes. Mr. Lilly says Zanaco and Prudential are both trusted brands known for putting their customers first.
And so together, these two organisations that have so much in common, even the colour, don't even have to buy a new tie, I'm sure have the opportunity to create something by combining the best of both that is way more than either of us could offer to our customers individually, and that makes me hugely inspired and excited, and that's why I wanted to come tonight and take the credit for it. I know that together we will create something that is bigger and more powerful than anything that has happened in Zambia before, and that is a very special feeling. I would just like to finish by thanking you all for coming. Wish the partnership and the teams working together every success for the future. Thank the board and the management team, Zanaco, for giving us this opportunity to build something together. and to wish everybody all the best for the future so that we can earn the trust of the customers that I know we're going to get. And so
Minister of Water Development Dennis Wanchinga has directed new board chairpersons at the water utility companies across the country to ensure that there is financial discipline at the institutions. Dr. Wanchinga has also directed new board chairpersons to immediately recruit chief executive officers, CEOs at the water and storage companies that have CEOs in acting capacity. Speaking at the induction ceremony for the new board chairperson in Lusaka, Dr. Wanchinga said his ministry has taken note that there are quite a number of water utility companies being run by acting CEOs. Dr. Wanchinga says such a trend is, however, affecting the effective operations of such companies. He states that the newly inducted board chairperson of water utility companies must in this case ensure that they recruit qualified personnel to fill up the vacant top management positions.
They have been created for a purpose to enhance service delivery in water supply and sanitation. I think we all remember the story of the Zambia Wildlife Authority, which was set up as a resource-based institution to manage the wildlife resource. It became complex. A lot of issues began to emerge, and government, in its own wisdom, decided to disband the concept of having an institution anchored on the management of a resource and took it back. Now wildlife is managed as part of the Department of Wildlife Services, in the way it was before independence. Why has the ministry absorbed it? Because I think the idea of having ZAWA as an independent institution focused on management of the wildlife sector failed already.
Speaking at the same induction ceremony, Water Development Permanent Secretary Eddie Chomba asked a government to consider revising the law which allows the Permanent Secretary to continue being the controlling officer of finances by realized and spent by water utility companies.
But where the water sector is seated, your permanent secretary still remains a controlling officer for the finances that your commercial utilities are superintending on. And yet, there hasn't been strong presence of controlling officers working together with the commercial utilities. That is a gap. When your managing directors or financial directors or managers, they are called to park, they simply make a few statements, and the person who is always in trouble is a permanent secretary.
Zambia has in 2018 moved up 1 point on the Absa Africa Financial Market AFM Index to 8th place from 9th position in 2017. This is out of the 20 countries in the region that are measured by the index. Presenting the findings of the AFM Index, Absa Chief Economist Jeff Gable explained that the index looks at providing a toolkit for African countries looking to strengthen their financial market structure. Mr. Gable says index is aimed at encouraging open, transparent and accessible financial markets that are attractive for domestic and foreign savings, through which investment into Africa can be realized. He says Zambia, Botswana, Kenya and Nigeria have thus moved up in the Absa AFM index, whilst South Africa remains on top position, supported by strong market infrastructure and a robust legal framework. Mr. Gable notes that Zambia, however, scored specific performances by moving to the 60th place in terms of market depth and 5th place in terms of access to foreign exchange. He says the country was, on the other hand, in the 14th place in terms of market transparency, tax and regulatory environment.
And that moved Zambia in that pillar up to 5th place overall, and critically just a couple points behind 3rd place. So it's getting very, very tight at the top there. Pillars 3, 4, and 5, right? Pillars 3, 4, and 5, that's around sort of transparency and legality, that's around local investors, that's around the macro opportunity. The scores for Zambia in that place barely moved. Maybe up a point in one index, down a point in another. But as evidence of how competitive the African Financial Markets Index is, just staying in place in terms of your scoring isn't enough to keep you where you were before. So in the third pillar, which is around sort of that legality and sort of the various global accounting standards and others, just staying in place in terms of score dropped 2 places from 12th to 14th. In the fourth pillar, which is the prominence of local investors, just staying in place, dropped from 13th overall in the index to 17th. In that macro pillar, right, which is less in this case about economic growth, but more about some transparency, and the macro pillar, just staying in place, dropped from second last in the index last year to last place. So clear evidence in those areas, perhaps of some low-hanging fruit.
Earlier, Barclays Bank Zambia Managing Director Mzingamelu noted the contribution to the AFM index has on the ensuring investors have information that will help to add to the growth of the Zambian economy.
We were 9th last year, we are now 8th this year. And there are a number of specific pillars that we look at. Let me just articulate those that we, probably the top 5, and some of those we did well in and some of those we didn't. In terms of our market depth, our market depth, we did well there. We moved up 3 places to the 6th overall position, and this is really good because there are 20 countries that we looked at and we moved 6 places. And this is really just recognizing the fact that we have almost every product in this market. So whatever product you want to deal in the financial markets, you will find it. Whether it's just a spot foreign exchange or whether you want to do a derivative to mitigate your risk, or whether you want to hedge your commodities. This index is really critical for investors, not investors only who are coming in, but even those of you who are already in the country, because this gives you the appetite to say, we will stay in Zambia because this is how Zambia is doing when you compare it to other countries. It's a competition out there. At Zambia, how are we comparing, if an investor is coming from the UK and they're saying, do I take my money to South Africa, Botswana, or Zambia? For them, it's Africa. But to choose which country is always the biggest decision, and this index is a key driver to that. So amidst all this, I am happy to once again emphasize the fact that, as Barclays, we are committed to the market. We were
The Central Statistical Office, CSO, has declared itself ready to conduct the 2020 National Population Census. CSO Acting Director Goodson Sinyenga says the administrator and various governance structures for the steering committee to implement the 2020 census have been established. Mr. Sinyenga says steering committee will be chaired by the Secretary to the Cabinet, Roland Mushika. He has disclosed that the 2020 Census Office has also been established and that government has already appointed the manager. Mr. Sinyenga states that the establishment of the Census Office is an indication that preparations for 2020 National Census are advancing.
Here in terms of office space, they are on our last floor. The Census Office has been established on the 5th floor. So that shows exactly how prepared we are. And the most important critical activity right now is for us to undertake the census mapping. We need to map this whole country into small statistical areas which will be managed by one interviewer, one data collector. So that process has since commenced. Previously, the mapping used to be quite involving because it was manually done. People used to go on the ground, go around an area, and then draw a sketch of the area that they have covered. But this time around, with the advent of technological improvements, we have commenced the mapping exercise using the satellite imageries. This country has been covered by satellite imageries, both the rural and urban parts of the country. So as a Central Statistical Office, we procured or we obtained satellite imageries covering the whole country. So these are live images of each and every block of this country, each and every piece of this country, in form of a live image. You know, like, it's like you have a live picture showing streams, showing roads, showing buildings. In some cases, it even shows the names of
Presence of God Ministries Overseer Christopher Kunda says he does not agree with the church mother bodies that national dialogue requires 3 years to achieve the intended outcome. Apostle Kunda thinks that 3 years is unnecessary too long a period of time to resolve issues that have triggered the holding of the national dialogue. In an interview with QTV News, Apostle Kunda notes that this is especially that the main issue is the reconciliation of President Edgar Lungu and opposition UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema. Apostle Kunda says that he strongly believes that once President Lungu and Mr. Hichilema are reconciled, there will be no issue to talk about. He says this is why he still insists that the two leaders emulate their Kenyan counterparts, President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga, who have put aside their past differences.
It's between the President Lungu and President Hakainde Hichilema, President of UPND. If these people, they can solve this issue using Kenyan way, the way President Uhuru Kenyatta did, just to call Odinga, and they are the meeting two of them, which spend hours of them to reconcile, to talk about the differences that they have. It's the same way with the problem that we have in this country. I think it's these two people, President Lungu, having time to talk to Hakainde, President Hakainde, UPND President, having time to talk to President Edgar Lungu, and this problem, it will be resolved, because the dialogue where we can say we are actually even wasting much of our time.
Northern Province has been declared ready to host the centenary commemoration of the end of the First World War and the Provincial Investment and Tourism Expo later this month. Northern Province Minister Brian Mundubile has told Azanis in Kasama that so far preparations for the hosting of the two events are on course. He notes that the overall objective of the investment exposition has so far been achieved, as foreign investors now know the investment opportunities in Northern Province. Mr. Mundubile says the commemoration of 100 years since the end of the First World War, to be held in Mbala district, formerly called Abekon, will thus attract high-profile dignitaries from around the world. He stated that the hosting of the two events will not only yield positive results to the province, but will also have long-lasting impact on the economic status of the country. Mr. Mundubile has expressed happiness with the overwhelming response that his administration is receiving from local and foreign investors wishing to invest in various sectors in the province. Northern Province will be hosting both the Investment Expo and the centenary commemoration of the end of the First World War from the 20th to the 25th of November 2018. That encouraging note ends the news, but before I take a run, here is a recapitulation of stories in the headlines. The government has challenged UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema to provide evidence the Zambia Forestry and Forest Industries Corporation, ZAFICO, has been sold. Senior Chief Mwamba of the Bemba-speaking people of Kasama district and the Chief Mwenetate of the Nkoya-speaking people of Luampa district have died. We end the news just here. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye. God bless.